Driving Business.
Program did replace the Visit Uganda brand. Now, Explore Uganda is the new flagship promotion brand for Uganda's tourism sector. This weekend, Ugandans, especially those who are influential in their sectors, will join the Ministry of Tourism to explore Western Uganda on a 4-day visit. And we also have a team leader here, team member from Smart 24, who will be joining the queue. But besides that, our on ground today is focusing on the tourism ministry policy. Question is it worth it? Anyway, because at least by the look of things, there is a need to avail and develop more products that are available for tourists, not only the natural resources that bring them into the country to visit, but what else speaks about Uganda? What else is made from the country that can attract tourists to come and see or visit? Let's get this from our SMB on ground. We return with more discussions.
Of course, we want to thank government, Parliament, our Committee of Tourism and Trade for the support, and the whole ministry as a whole. Yes, by the first time we appeared before our committee, we had challenges when our budgets had been cut fundamentally, but now the budget was reinstated with a small bit of increment. So I want to thank government for the consideration, and as a sector, we've always said you'll always see the results coming vis-a-vis the funding we get. So I want to thank government and Parliament for the support. Government, because they've also increased our development budget, and now we are going to develop a pier at the source of the Nile. You're going to see some good developments at the source of the Nile, which we believe is going to be one of the key products we shall be marketing as a country, because it's the source of the longest river in the world. So it's been good. We are going to start the process up and moving. We had already done the feasibility studies. We only needed some money to come in. Now that it has come in the next financial year, definitely you'll see the project up and running, or at least the initial processes of the project being implemented. Well, I don't think that there is any sector in this country that is getting all the money they ought to be getting as envisaged by the NDP3 in the next financial year. But like we said, there are so many competing demands for funding as a government. But we want to thank them for this one, for the reinstatement and the little additional funding to the sector. And for us, we shall use it to bring results. As you saw, even with the funding that we had this financial year, the numbers we had of the people, of the visitations to the parks and the visitations to Uganda Wildlife Education Center surpassed all the numbers we've ever gotten from the time we were founded as a country. So I believe that these figures will still go a long way in improving the sector, but also helping us recover from the effects, so the impacts of COVID-19. So we appreciate, and you'll see the results from the sector in the next financial year. Yes. We shall do an assessment of the impact, because the bill was just passed. It hasn't yet been assented to by His Excellency the President. But I believe there are so many countries that are developing in tourism with even the same kind of regulation that we passed recently. So I don't think we shall be affected much. Dubai is doing well, despite having the same provisions against those bills. So as a sector, we also believe that our values are so important. I mean, we would promote them at any cost. So we shall do an assessment of the impact of the bill as time goes by. But so far, there has not been much impact yet. And that's why we are saying that a number of projects that we had started that were moving slowly because of the funding issues, now we are going to address and move much faster. And I believe that's one of the facilities we shall be looking at. So there are so many across the country. This gives us a lot of vigor, first of all, to achieve the end line of these projects in a shorter period of time than they were handling them in a much slower manner. So this has come handy, and yes, you'll see all that change going forward.
We've seen the
the ministerial policy statement and the budget that has been presented by the Ministry of Tourism, and this is giving us hope as the opposition that our voices are being heard, because when you look at the alternative policy statement that we came up with, we were increasing funds that are going to the Ministry of Tourism because this is an income generating ministry. And good enough, there has been a slight increment in the money that is going to tourism in form of development, developing some of the trails, developing some of the tourist attractions like Source of the Nile, like Mount Renzori, which is a good direction for the country because this is the best way we can promote tourism in the country. Yes, we know the anti-homosexuality bill was passed. We believe it will impact the tourism in the short term, but in the long run, we believe tourism will again pick up and do much better. There is no amount of money that can buy our values. So we believe this was the right decision, though it will impact the tourism, but it is good for our values and for us as the people of Uganda. We've seen very many countries like Saudi Arabia, like Qatar, that have implemented such kinds of laws and bills, but the tourism there has picked up and it's doing quite well. So I believe Uganda, we are going to improve as long as we do what is right, as long as we promote Uganda the way Rwanda is doing it, as long as we invest in the various tourism sites, as long as we can develop more products for our tourists.
Of course, investing in Uganda's tourism sector, big priority there. Andrew, the Uganda Tourism has set up different policies to ensure that they promote Uganda's tourism. Challenges, however, it doesn't seem like it's a quick return on investment like our neighbors Rwanda and Kenya, though. But anyway, the numbers are increasing for domestic tourism. Why is the problem?
Well, of course, we cannot deny the fact that you see, whenever you meet the different policyholders, different stakeholders into that very sector, they're always going to tell you that the setback was on the COVID-19, you know. But that's not an excuse anymore, because as we speak, according to the latest report, we see here that Uganda recorded a 59% increase. That is in international visitor arrivals, that is to 814. In 2020, signaling a recovering that is into the tourism sector. But well, I mean, the numbers are promising. You know, it shows that actually there is an interesting recovery. But the only aspect now comes in back, like what you said actually when you're introducing this report about however much we have whatever, because we already have what attracts the tourism. The tourists. But there is need to invest more into the tourism sector by the different stakeholders. And when I talk of investment, that means the aspect of availing the necessities for tourism. Recently, we had in Chigezi, the personnel in there were having some really serious issues about electricity and something, to me, which I feel those are just red flags that really indicate what should be done. Okay. And what is the problem in here. These, talking about the accommodation facilities, how attractive are these accommodation facilities? Do they have what is necessary for the tourists? Okay. Because we don't have more of intra-tourism within this country. According, not so many people really take time to visit off. A few take time, but majority are foreigners. So a foreigner, there is a way, there is a perspective definitely they will have, because they have it from the perspective of where they're coming from, tourism. So availing products which can attract tourists, that a tourist can come and they feel the value of paying $1,000 or whatever amount of money they're paid to buy a ticket to come to Uganda, worth it, coming into that. So just those few loopholes into the system, a few setbacks, most especially on ground, because I would love to say, yeah, of course, the top people probably are doing whatever it takes to ensure this happens. But now, people that are operating on ground, the tour operators, they need to be really facilitated to the maximum. That really, that's one of the ways we can keep our game high, really, because it won't really matter how, regardless of how we do positive PR for our country, but when on ground it's something else, it would seem like a scam to tourists, when they come into the country. I'll keep an example of Chigezi. I believe during that time they lost money. And imagine a person who was visiting Uganda for the very first time. What are they thinking at the back of their mind? They hear this whole aspect, okay, it's the Pearl of Africa. Yeah, okay, I've reached there, but this is what is happening. I mean, it should be something, these are matters that should be really taken seriously. You know, service providers of different areas, I mean, we should make sure, because we are seeing recovery. Recovery is getting back. Of course, Ebola had some kind of affected, because even some people canceled their bookings that had come to Uganda to tour, and of course they had booked hotels where they're going to stay, they canceled all that. But anyway, that is all recovering back. So I think the issue is facilitating the people on ground, whereby they should ensure that they have whatever it takes. If it's electricity that was the issue in Chigezi area, we need to have fully functioning electric services in there, power services. People need to, at least if it's not hydro, there should be alternatives that should be developed.
Yes.
You know, we have quite lots of energies. I mean, Uganda, we're one of the countries that are into energy transitions. You know, why can't we put that into those sectors? Why can't we apply that? You know, because it's where it makes a lot of sense, where it's being applied and there is an economic sense. You know, apart from looking at household, you know, what about the business, looking at the business side, and that is the tourism. I believe if such areas are catered for, I shall really enjoy. And all these, now like they visit Uganda, now in Western Uganda, all of them to be a success, because of course the influencers will be there, but that's going to be just only 4 days. But now the actual visit Uganda is after the 4 days, you know, because yes, you're going to record all this, and come back and tell the people this. But if a tourist comes there and they don't experience what you talked about, that's another story.
True.
It should be, in other words, consistency in everything.
It should be a priority. Of course, now when you look at the fact that now they're actually requesting for this money, this amount of money. Last time we broke down where the money will be heading to, the Uganda Wildlife Education Center, we broke down to the ministry, we broke down to the Uganda Tourism Board.
Even a tourism, some sort of like an institute?
Yes, and now we got to realize there's something to do with the fact that everyone under the Ministry of Tourism does seem to be on a different kind of journey.
Wow, now that is something very important. I mean, there is some sort of the lack of oneness. Coordination, exactly.
Because they are not coordinating in the same, you know, they are not on the same lane.
Page.
Yes, not on the same page. They're not flowing with the same flow. And someone would actually say, is this the challenge? Because if you are promoting, let's say, Explore Uganda, you expect all the stakeholders, both domestic tour operators, those who are basically rotating around, you know, making bookings for international tourists coming into the country. They need to be on the same page, because you're fighting for one cause, or you are targeting the same cause. But it does seem otherwise.
Yeah, actually, now, that last one you made, I think, a cause. I mean, different people come up with different associations with different intentions,
yeah, sure.
You know, surprisingly. And now this is something in tourism. I mean, it's more of personal best, because that's a clear indicator, honestly. There is nothing that can prove otherwise except that. You know, everyone is on a different page. And, you know, some people form up these tourism organizations. I'm not saying, but some. For selfish intentions, and one of the ways to probably tap money from foreign funders, you know, and all these related aspects. But that's not a good aspect if there are those that are doing that, because at the end of the day, it will be one of the reasons that's why among us, East Africa, we are the country which has the best, but we are not benefiting from that. You know, very surprisingly. And you know, the most interesting aspect is that most of these countries where they have quite lots of tourists, what is really being of great value to those tourists is simply the products they have available to attract them, but not the scenery or what they possess, all that. But that all comes when there is a cooperation within the different stakeholders. The investment, the flow of money will be massive. It is okay. From the foreign funding is okay. But what are you using that for? What are you using that grant for? Is it for the development of the tourism sector, or for to see that you want to prove a point that I have a say in, my organization because I have money, I have a say. I command what the tourism, the direction of this sector, all that. So if we sort out all those few aspects, but the coordination is the key aspect, working as one. And actually, if it were possible, some of them should be put off the grid, if it were possible.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, we want to see results. Results is the bigger aspect of this. Because a tourist will really want to know if they are in this country and they see things messed up before they even look into, unlike for them, there is this aspect that if something goes wrong in a country, you look at the person in charge of that country. I don't look at the person. I may meet the leader, I'm okay, I may be fine, but if my stakeholder, if the people operating under my cover do something that is not right, of course it comes back to me. So that's the same aspect the mind the tourists are going to be having. And if you sit down that tourist and you tell them, we have this, we have this, we have this, all this, a bunch of stakeholders are going to be shocked by the service that is being put out there, and that is very ashamed.
Yeah. Right, now what a way to end our discussion today on Smart Means Business. And the journey to Western Uganda, exploring Western Uganda, is off today by the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities. Well, the purpose is mainly to explore Uganda and promote it. To all those tourism players in the country, keep pushing. The sector is recovering steadily, and the country is being recognized highly as we continue to generate incomes, both from local and international. You've been watching Smart Means Business, 11 minutes to 10 o'clock. Good morning. As we're heading out of the show, though, remember to invest with Zabu. Zabu is a platform by Altex East Africa, which is giving you the opportunity to invest, grow your investments as well. Star 292 hash is the USSD code that you definitely need to use to kickstart off your investment journey today with the platform. Investment is very possible. All you need to do is register with your national identification number. Go get it. Kickstart off your investment journey with Zabu. Zabu, my money, my future. Altex East Africa, do something new. The minimum amount is 15,000 Ugandan shillings. Grow your investments. Kickstart it off today. Markets open at 8:15 a.m., close at 3:15 p.m., fully closed during the weekends and on public holidays. That's Zabu for you. I'm SSONKO here with Andrew Barigye, and till tomorrow, Thursday, we'll be back here driving your business. Have a good day and a blessed morning.
Smart 24, driving business.